I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over.
Would you believe me if I tell you that I became a Muslim also because of Donald Trump? Basically, you know, Donald Trump was actually the trigger for me, you know, in wanting to understand Islam, to investigate it. Because otherwise, if he hadn't said anything, I would probably have never, you know, had any interest in Islam at all. It's the fact that there was, you know, this narrative from him, and at the same time, my students, you know, who were doing exactly the opposite thing, who piqued my curiosity. So in a way, the trigger has been him. I was a Christian, I was a Catholic, I was born in a Catholic family, even if they were not so, like, nominally, let's say, they were nominally Catholic. I felt inside me the idea of becoming a priest, a Franciscan friar, yes. So, if I say it, I don't know. At the time, of course, you know, like I thought I wanted to sacrifice my life for the sake of religion and also helping others. And that's why, you know, I decided to follow that path. And I became a postulant at the age of 18 in a Franciscan friary. And I remained there for 1.5 years, more or less. One day in 2010, then I discovered, you know, I was just going, you know, surfing on the internet. And then I started seeing some pictures of northern lights in Iceland, waterfalls and you know, glaciers, and I was like, wow, Iceland is amazing, you know. And then the language nerd inside me, because I've always been a language nerd, I thought, what language do they speak? And then I went, you know, on some websites to see some texts written in Icelandic. I was like, whoa, I want to learn this language. And then I started from, you know, that first day, it was 4th of April 2010. From that day, every single day, sometime for Icelandic, because I wanted to learn the language and move there. There was something, I don't know, that pushed me. And this same thing had happened also with Arabic. I was 13 years old, I was in high school. So after I was done with my homework, because I had nothing to do, I said, you know what? Also, like I discovered at a certain point Arabic, you know, from a schoolmate of mine. She was from Morocco, and when I heard her speaking Arabic, I was like, it's interesting, I want to understand more. And then I started studying it like constantly. It was incredible. That first time, like with Arabic, I was so in love with the language. Now, I've tried many languages, many. I've tried to study Finnish, Romanian, Estonian, many different languages, but only Arabic and Icelandic had this impact on me. And then, while I was there, then, you know, I was still in my atheist phase, but I started traveling in Iceland. So I was shocked, amazed, like seeing live, finally, those things that I had seen in photos. Northern lights, like in front of my eyes, waterfalls, glaciers. I had so many experiences there, and it's so beautiful, that landscape. I lived, you know, I'm from Sicily, and you know, at times, you know, when you live, you know, in a city, you generally don't see, you know, like you tend to see buildings here and there. But in Iceland, you have like areas where there is nothing, absolutely nothing, just the sky and the earth. And it's, wow, it felt so wide, even wider than somewhere else in the world. And I was like, wow, this is stunning. And then this pushed me in a way to think, could could it be that maybe, you know, all this, like this beauty is not just a product of random chance? That was, you know, the thought that crossed my mind. Would you believe me if I tell you that I became a Muslim also because of Donald Trump? That's how it, yeah, okay. So it was 2015, so it was the big, you know, the election campaign, Trump versus Clinton. And of course there was this huge anti-Islam narrative from his part and everything. And at the same time I had started teaching. So meanwhile I had, you know, like graduated in Icelandic, and I started teaching as an assistant. And I had students, you know, from different countries, and some of them were Muslims from Iran and Afghanistan. And, you know, at that point, because the discussion in Iceland was also, you know, like, it was an interesting topic, you know, the election campaign in America. So at that point I had two different narratives. Okay, one negative, one positive, because I saw my students, they were hardworking, they were very kind, very gentle, you know, no problem with them, absolutely. So I was like, okay, then at this point, you know, what is the truth here? Let's go to the, you know, root of the issue, and let's read the Holy Quran. That's how I started reading it. It is a course basically for foreign students who are learning Icelandic. So they're from, you know, different countries, and some of them were from, you know, Muslim countries as well. So there were some hijabis too. So it was like highly multicultural. So I started reading the Holy Quran, and you know, while, you know, I was thinking about theism and moving, you know, towards the idea that there should be a God, then I also, you know, came up with the question, well, okay, what characteristics has, you know, this God? And one of the first things, not even, you know, I hadn't read the Holy Quran, I didn't know what was there, but one of the first things that I thought was self-sufficient. That was one of the attributes that I thought, even, you know, I hadn't read the Holy Quran. And why did I come with this attribute specifically? Because in Christianity, there is more the idea that, you know, God needs you, that God calls you to something, that you are in a way special because there is a mission for you. And for me, this idea of specialty didn't work anymore. It was more like, no, considering this, you know, this whole world, I'm just a dot. I'm just a dot. But still, I mean, okay, I'm a dot, and I might be different from, you know, other people. We are all different, but we are still at the same level. We are all equal, even if we are different. And that, in a way, you know, like, made me think, if there is no specific specialty except for prophets, then, you know, God doesn't need us. If God doesn't need us, then He's self-sufficient. So, in a way, you know, okay, He created us. There is most probably a reason for which we have been created. That was the thought at the time. Okay, so the first thought that I had, of course, was in a way, you know, like, to grant us, you know, graciously the chance to experience what life is, in a way. You know, that was my first thought at the time. But then, you know, while reading the Holy Quran, it shocked me that there was the same, you know, thought about, you know, self-sufficient. I was like, whoa, that's exactly, you know, what I thought.